Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim Turner. I just wanted to do an honest reaction about the school shooting in Connecticut. As a parent, you have a lot of fears, and seeing this kind of tragic event happen to innocent children, it it really hits home, especially when you have your own kids. My wife has even talked about considering pulling the girls out of school and homeschooling, but anymore, anywhere is not safe. Even at home, there is risk of break-in intrusions, robberies. People get shot up in their own homes anymore. And it's sad that America has gotten to that point where you can't send your children to school, and you can't go to church, and you can't hardly do anything without the risk of somebody getting pissed off and coming in and shooting up everything. I knew once this news story was published that it would soon become a political ploy. People are starting to use this tragic and horrific event for their own political gain, for gun control, or some people even mention God because God wasn't in school or God's been taken out of the school system. This is why this happened. I'm only going to mention a few things on this. First of all, taking away guns is a bad idea. I am a gun owner. Yes, I have two little girls. But as a responsible gun owner, my gun that is kept here in my house for personal safety is only fingerprint recognizable. That means my fingerprints only unlock that safe. Well, my wife's can unlock that gun safe. The rest of my guns are stored 30 miles away in a locked up safe in a storage unit that has its own lock that I'll only know where the keys are and I only know the combinations too. If you're going to own a gun, be a responsible gun owner and do the right things. And especially around children, if you have children. You got to teach them the right ways to approach a gun. And the girls have been taught that. But people are saying, well, let's ban assault rifles and guns. Well, the only thing that's going to do is create a black market for these guns. And then what? Only outlaws will own them. And people think that, if we take away guns, violence will completely stop, and that's wrong. Let's go back to the first point for a minute. Take away guns, and only outlaws will have them. That creates a black market, which creates more crime, more violence, and more bloodshed. That's something we don't want. The second point is that without guns there wouldn't be any violence or death. No. If a person is bound and determined to kill, they're going to do it. A few years ago, I read an article about this guy in China who went to a school just like this one, in this incident, and used a knife and stabbed over 20 kids to death. Take 9/11 for example. Box cutters and a fake bomb was all it took to cause thousands of deaths. If a person is bound and determined to kill, they're going to kill. There is no stopping that. I mean, there is psychological evaluations, but most people don't go to psychological evaluations. Most people don't even see a therapist. But that's preventive stuff that's only accessible to people who want to help themselves. But if you take away guns, I mean, it's a never-ending battle. And people say, well, just take away the assault rifles, because they're fully automatic weapons. I'm not going to explain how, and I'm not going to explain, how to do this because I'm not trying to give anybody any bright ideas. But take a single shot pistol, not a six shooter, just a regular old single shot automatic gun. Now, it's not a full auto. You pull the trigger, one shot fires. But if you go into the gun and you adjust a few things in there, and you replace a couple of parts, you can make that gun into a fully automatic. You just gotta know what you're doing. Any gun can become a fully automatic that has a clip put into it. You just gotta know what the hell you're doing. So yeah, take away assault rifles. It'll just lead to a bunch of conversions of other guns that aren't assault rifles into assault rifles. I mean, it's a never-ending defeating purpose by trying to stop guns from being there. Guns will always be there. What you need to do is try to stop the wrong people from getting guns. Personally, I believe that people should have to be licensed through their state by the government agency, checked out through an FBI check, CIA check, their state police check, and county police. All of them. There should be a strict, stringent background check before you even consider taking a 3-month course. And during this 3-month course, to be registered to own a gun and to be licensed to own one, you have to go through some strict psychological evaluations. Not only during this 3 months course will you go through those psychological evaluations, but you should be made to go through gun safety courses. Be taught the proper procedures on how to store a gun, how to keep it safely stored, and how to keep it out of the wrong people's hands. The lack of knowledge is what caused this. I don't know how in the world. I don't know if the woman had this guns in a safe, the mother of the guy that did this. If he was smart enough to figure out the combination to the safe and get the guns out, and it was premeditated. But if she just had them laying around, it could have been just a spur of the moment thing. I mean, nobody knows the motives of what this guy did, and especially something as horrendous as killing a little child, an innocent. They can't protect themselves. And that's what people are bitching about, is that we can protect them, or they can't protect themselves. So how do we protect them? And we're jumping the gun a little bit. Excuse the phrase. There's such a thing as being overprotective, and there's such a thing as being too protective to the point that it becomes dangerous. Take, for example, after the school shooting at Virginia Tech, which is where I live, 30 minutes down the road, a high school, I'm not going to name which one, a high school adopted a plan to protect the children in case of such a school shooting or act. And they made it publicly aware to everybody what the plan was. Okay, number one, yeah, you got to inform the students on what to do in case of a school shooting. But then again, of course, the students are going to talk. But you got to find a way to keep a lid on it, because their strategy was this: if somebody breaks in with a gun, they're going to take everybody and put them in a gym. So if there's a shooter in the building and people know what their strategic plan is to put everybody in the gym, all they have to do is get somebody to go in there and fire a single shot into the air. They don't even have to kill anybody. They get all the students to run into a centralized location where two other armed men could be standing there and just pop them off one at a time as they run into the building. Or wait until everybody's in there, pop out from underneath the bleachers at this particular school, and kill everybody. That's the overprotection that's going to cause more harm than good. We've got to do something. We got to create ways to get around this that will appease everybody and make everything okay. But by not being overprotected to the point it's going to cause harm, by being just the right amount of protective. And that's the hard thing to do, to find that happy medium. And people will wrap their brains around this for, I don't know, beyond years. And I can guarantee you we'll be no closer probably to finding the answer to the happy medium than we are right now. And then the people about the God issue, that just flew all over me. I'm sorry. There was children that probably died that day that believed in the same God that they're advocating for. And no offense, God didn't do anything that day to stop it. Religion is not a bulletproof vest, ladies and gentlemen. It is not, and it never will be. Faith is a great thing to have, don't get me wrong. I advocate for people to go to churches and have their own faith. But if somebody is bound and determined to do evil, to cause harm, it doesn't matter what faith you are. Violence doesn't discriminate like we do. It only does. So please, keep that out of the conversation. Evil only does and does what it wants. It doesn't have a conscience. It doesn't have a heart. It doesn't take into consideration your age, your color, your sex, your religion, your creed. It just does. So keep religion out of this. It's tragic that innocent lives were lost. And here we are as a nation tearing it apart and making it into our own political agenda when all we need to do is be making sure that these kids that survived such a horrific event that most none of us will never have to live through in our entire lives, live through an unfortunate event that they had to go through, and, and give them support and teach them how to become survivors and not victims of this for the rest of their lives. We need to give them support and love and happy thoughts and not be at each other's throats and pulling at each other's hair and scratching at each other's eyes because we believe that gun control or non-gun control or God should have been there or no God or psychological mental evaluations need to be given for everybody or no, they shouldn't be. Put that aside. Drop it at the fucking gate and support these kids. Support everybody that's been involved from this and make them survivors of this. Years from now, I don't want to see these kids walking down the street and they're just known as the victims of that shooting in Connecticut. I want people to look at them and say, those are survivors and they're living a great life. And that's what we all should want. There's a time for politics and a time for everything else. And right now is not it. For once in our lives, unite as Americans and support these people. Don't remember the gunman's name, by no means. More than likely, it's because he wanted to be famous, and that's the only way he could become famous is by doing something so horrendous. Don't give him the justice, don't give him the satisfaction. Forget him, count him out of the equation. He's a low-life piece of shit that that killed himself and is burning in the fires of hell right now, and we shouldn't give a shit about. The only thing we should give a damn about is helping them people get back up on their feet and live their lives and be great products of their lives and not just the victim. That's all I gotta say. That's my honest review. You can take it, you can leave it, you can like it, you can not. It's just an opinion. My personal opinion. And opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, and all of them pretty much damn well stink. To those lost, my condolences. I couldn't imagine, and I'm not going to pretend to. But you have my support. If you need anything, let us know. To the rest of you, do the same. Give them your support. Stop the political bullshit and give them your support. Have a good day, people.